Okay, good evening. I'd like to call our Budget and Finance Subcommittee meeting to order. And this time we'll do our update. I know we have two items. Mr. Mulaney, the staffing reconciliation, the quarterly budget update. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you. The budget report for the first quarter for the 3 months ended 9/30/2025 is in front of you. This fiscal year 26 budget is a $146,734,627 budget, which was an increase of $4.2 million over the previous year's budget. The mayor's appropriation was $138,384,627, or a 3.13% increase. Projected circuit breaker funding was anticipated to be $8,350,000, which we budgeted for $1 million increase in tuitions. These increases allowed us to meet all our contractual obligations as they currently stood at the end of the year, and provided $3.2 million so we could increase and build our budget. We had some good news and bad news on the circuit breaker funding. The actual reimbursement for this year is $10,522,000, a $2,172,000 increase. The bad news is they reduced the reimbursement for transportation from 75% to 61%. So that's a reduction of $592,000, or not a reduction since we had an increase, but there would have been another $600,000 available to us. So for the first page, the salaries, as of September 30th, there were 2 payments made for teachers for the new school year. This would result in approximately 8% of the salaries being expended, and you'd want 92% remaining. And you can see for the academic classroom teachers, $3.6 million was expended, $42 million is available, which is just at the 92%. Academic programs, same with the teachers in that area, 92.3% is available for future expenditures. And under academic support, the instructional line, 92% remains, so we're in good shape as far as those go currently. For the 52-week employees, there were 13 payments, so we'd want approximately 25% expended and 75% available. They were all pretty much within that line, with the exception of the directors. If you'll notice, instead of about 75% remaining, 53% is remaining, and that was specifically due to the retirement of one of the directors, Allison Cox. There is a payout for 3 years of unused vacation time and 30 days of sick time for retiring administrators. So that's why that is off. The principals are in fine shape. The aides, we had an increase in the aides line and the part-time professional line, so we're in good shape with those currently. For the non-academic support, clerical is right where we want to see it because it's a combination of 52-week and 40-week employees. Custodial is below that 75%. We budgeted less than $400,000 less than we needed, in anticipating of getting that from the food service account at the end of the year, and that's what we did last year as well. So we're in good shape as far as that goes. Security, aides, attendants, drivers, we're all right on schedule with those. The overtime line is a bit concerning. We've had a large amount of work done on our school buildings by Public Works, which does require us to use custodial services. So the overtime for our custodians is extremely high right now, but it's well worth it with what's being done in the city. So I don't think we can complain about having to spend money when we see what we're getting for the investment. So that's the salary budget in a nutshell. I don't know if anybody has any questions before we go on to the expenses.
Any questions, anybody? No? Keep going, Jim.
Okay, for the expenses, we're pretty much in line with most of our expenses, with the exception of the educational software that's fully expended. We had a large increase in this because a lot of this was funded by ESSA money the previous years. We had a great amount of subscriptions and text and learning items in that. So that's fully expended now, as well as some of the instructional equipment for purchasing, because we bought some Chromebooks to help maintain our levels at the schools, so particularly at the high schools and the middle schools. So we had a fair amount expended on that. For the non-academic expenses, natural gas and electricity, they seem a little bit high, but that's mostly funded. We put up large purchase orders and work off them, so it shows that it's encumbered here, not spent. So we're in good shape with those. Transportation, we're in good shape for this year. We put $1 million extra into that because it was running in a deficit the prior year. And all the rest of the expenses are right in line. Again, it's very early in the year. Only 2 pay periods for the teachers, but as of right now, I think we're in pretty good shape. So I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Mrs. Perdios?
Thanks, Jim. So for the athletic supplies and health supplies, those seemed a little bit low as well. How are you, can you just comment on how you're feeling about the athletic supplies being at 25% left and the health supplies being at 38% left?
The health supplies, we spend most of them in the beginning of the school year to stock up the nurses' inventory and supplies. And the majority of athletic expenses, supplies come from the revolving accounts. So the amount that's in the budget typically gets us through the fall sports. The winter and spring sports typically are paid for out of the revolving accounts.
Okay, thank you.
So it's very normal for it to look like that.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the context. Thank you.
All set?
Yep.
Jim?
Going to the staff reconciliation, there's going to seem like a lot of changes in this, more than usual. And part of that is due to Title I, funding with Title I. Not that we've had a reduction in Title I funding, we actually had a little increase. But they've changed the way we can put certain people into the Title I account and be funded by it. And so for the past 4 or 5 years, we've had 2 curriculum directors who were paid out of the Title I funding, and they said we can't do that this year. So they bounced it back to us. So we will be having 2 curriculum directors who are in Title I coming back into our budget. So there will be a deficit in the director's side, but we have some savings that's coming from the teachers here. So to keep that in mind, we had a reduction in, and the reductions that I'm going to tell you on this, they're not less people. They are just not in our budget. They got moved into the Title I budget to make up for the 2 directors who came out. So if you look at our Title I schools, we had 29, Lincoln Hancock, there was 29 in our budget. There's only 27 now. We did not lose 2 teachers. Those 2 teachers are now being funded by the Title I account, and so it's a reduction in our budget. Marshall, the same thing. We have 28 teachers in our budget. 3 of them are now coming out of Title I. Parker, 16, 2 more are coming out, so it's 14. Again, these are not reductions in teaching staff. They're still in the buildings. They're still being paid. It's just a different source. Atlantic Middle School was up 1 teacher. That was for class size needs. Central was down a 0.2. Sterling Middle School went up again for class needs. I believe it was a 5th grade teacher, went up 1.
In Southwest?
Southwest, excuse me. It says Sterling here, I apologize. Southwest, I'm very sorry for that. Another beautiful building that we have. Quincy High School is up a 0.3. Academic program staff, a special education teacher was up 1.1. Again, this is not a new position. This is one that came out of Title I. And the same, if you look at guidance, a 1.0 came out of, that was in Title I. And again, they were saying that they wanted them in the schools, in the teaching position. So we did not get rid of any teachers. They just funded in a different source. So the net is a reduction of 2.8 in our budget FTEs, and that will cover the cost of the 2 curriculum directors. So we're still in good shape as far as budgetary. It's just going to be, there'll be a little bit surplus in the teaching lines and a deficit in the directors or coordinators.
Any questions, anybody? Okay, thank you. Just for the purpose of the public, this is a large budget, there's a lot of moving parts, so, we make those changes as needed and the adjustments as needed. And of course, year-end, just like on the city side, we do year-end transfers to, where we have surpluses, we fill in the deficits, and so this is nothing really crazy or different.
No.
It's typical of the school budget, so. Sure, Mrs. Hubley?
I might be looking at this really wrong, but could you tell me why on here, on this one, we have different amount than on this one that you gave out for the 25 budget, 26, 25 budget, the line item, like I'm looking at natural gas, and on here, I'm on page 33 in the booklet. I understand it says electricity, it says that there's a decrease because of solar program, but I was trying to figure out why the
Line 33.
different number on those. Is that supposed to just be representing something differently and I'm not looking in the right place?
So natural gas,
Just seems like a much lower amount than what's in the expense budget that we're looking at on the actual real
on
time.
page 33, under the natural gas,
Yeah.
there's
So is that
1
like,
million, the final column is 1,484,000, and that's the same amount that's in the first column on the budget.
okay, I guess I was looking at the line item for it, not particularly the,
But it's the total of all the individual line items.
okay, I'm probably just looking at it wrong. I can ask you later, and maybe you can
Oh,
point at it
that-
for me. Let me just see it,
Yep.
to clarify how I'm looking at it incorrectly.
Sure
Thank you
thing.
very much for your time, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mulaney.
All right.
You're on our Budget and Finance Subcommittee. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the school committee meeting for October 22nd, 2025. Call to order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Begoli? Present. Mrs. Cahill?
Present.
Mr. Gutro? Present. Mrs. Hubley?
Present.
Mrs. Lebo? Present. Mrs. Perdios?
Present.
Mayor Cope?
Present.
Quincy High School Student Representative MJ Perdios? And North Quincy High School Student Representative Caroline Van. Thank you both.
Thank you. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have some memoriams.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have two memoriams. If you could keep these individuals and their families in your thoughts and prayers. First is Joseph Merlino. He was a custodian for 30 years at Quincy High School and Point Webster Middle School. And next is Dr. Carmen Mariano. Dr. Mariano began his 27-year career in the Quincy Public Schools as a math teacher at Sterling Junior High School and was later assistant principal of Sterling, later director of personnel, and assistant superintendent. Again, if you could keep these individuals and their families in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you.
At this time, we have open forum, which is an opportunity for community input regarding the Quincy Public Schools. Community in this context is defined as a resident of the city of Quincy, a non-resident parent of a student who attends the Quincy Public Schools, or a non-resident employee of the Quincy Public Schools. After giving his or her name and address, each speaker may make a presentation of no more than 3 minutes to the school committee. An individual may not exchange their time or yield to others. Residents or non-community persons may submit written statements of up to 300 words to the school committee at qscopenforum@quincypublicschools.com by 4 p.m. of the day prior to the posted school committee regular meeting. Written statements will be posted on the school committee section of the Quincy Public Schools website by noon on the day of the posted school committee regular meeting. Is there anyone here for public forum?
I guess I'm it. Bill Zamsow, 46 Tilden Circle, Quincy. My comments this evening are directed at School Committee Chair. School Committee Chair and Mayor Koch's recent comments about the sexual abuse of children are rife with ignorant and outrageous statements. In particular, how teachers were far greater abusers of children than priests, as well as that he felt his Roman Catholic faith had been unduly taken to task and is still held in ill regard, as he views homosexuality as behind the Boston Archdiocese's horrific child abuse scandal. So what, apparently, for how it became clear when the abuse saw the light of day that the Archdiocese had long enabled the abusers by moving them about, allowed the abusers to hide behind the sacrament of confession, and so did not report abusers to law enforcement, and paid off victims via non-disclosure agreements. Further gobsmacking were Chair Koch's tortured comments that clearly suggested that he views pederasty with adolescents is on at least occasion entailing consent, and thus less bad than pedophilia. Respectfully, the abuse of children is something that cannot be ranked as a mortal sin, as well as statutory rape is rape. And for a further example of his ignorance, the overwhelming consensus of professionals is that sexual abuse is better seen as an abuse of power, with sex a reinforcer of the abuse rather than the driving force behind it. Granted, the chair is free to believe and say what he may, personally. However, as chair of the school committee and mayor of Quincy, his statements have consequences. For example, if he were the superintendent of Quincy's public schools when he said what he did, he would be gone, or at least in short order. Similarly, if he were an applicant for the position of school superintendent and his views became known along the way, he would not be hired. Most especially so, not by a Catholic Archdiocese school system. Even worse, Chair Koch added fuel to the fire with his subsequent apologies, including refusing to duly apologize to Quincy school teachers, as well as those not strictly heterosexual universally. In short, he should not be anywhere near a role with the operations of any school. Accordingly, the honorable thing to do would be for him to resign from the school committee. However, I know him to not be an honorable man. As such, the school committee should call for a vote of no confidence. Granted, committee members expressed their sentiments about the mayor's actions and statements at the last school committee meeting. However, formal sanction is in order, and a vote of no confidence is the minimum level of censure to impose. I thus leave it to you all to now, or at least soon, do the right thing. Oh, and one last thing. You all should plan on lean budget starting in 2027. As is in his role of mayor, the school committee chair has made a mess of the city's finances going forward for years, if not decades. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Superintendent's report, please.
Good evening again, everyone. The superintendent's report. So first on the agenda is the emergency medical training. So special thanks to the support of the Quincy Police Department and Lieutenant James Green of the Quincy Police Department, of course, and Quincy Public School staff members who have had the opportunity to participate in a casualty emergency medical aid training called Stop the Bleed, a course specifically designed for civilians. Our athletic directors, assistant athletic directors, and athletic trainers all took part in the course, along with members of the security staff and our custodial staff. We tried to get as many in-school staff trained as possible. Our school nurses have already received an advanced level of training in this course that is geared towards medical personnel. In conjunction with the training, the high schools have also been issued individual first aid Stop the Bleed kits. Again, the Quincy Police Department is really amazing with regard to the additional assets and professional development that they give our staff. So thank you to Chief Kennedy and his staff for making that possible for the Quincy Public Schools. Next is the Quincy Public School Music Department recently held the rental nights for both the elementary band and strings program. Over 335 grades 4 to 8 students have chosen to be a part of the band, which is amazing. This is an increase of over 50 students from last year. 56 students are joining the strings program, an increase of 11 from last school year. Instrument lessons are underway at all elementary and middle schools. And I'll pause here for Mrs. Perdios, who'd like to say a word under this section.
Thank you. I just wanted to say how proud I am of the music department that we have here in Quincy, just the level of opportunity that we give students from the earliest ages all the way up. And our music teachers at the elementary level, the middle school level, the high school level are phenomenal and give our kids an opportunity to do something more than just the academic curriculum, to learn an instrument and find their passion musically as well. So I just wanted to thank them and just say how proud I am of the music department. Update there.
I believe student representative would like to say a word.
Try your mic. Is it on the top? Okay.
You have to speak close to it.
I've been doing band since the 4th grade. It's definitely my passion. I'm just going to focus on marching band in my comment here. It's a great program. I've met all my friends there. It's very, very time consuming. We spent over 200 hours last year in the course of 4 months, from August to November, excuse me. So you really have to love it. I love it. It's a lot for those who just see it as a hobby, who aren't serious about it. I'd love to see more accommodations for those kind of people, as in like not needing to do marching band, just doing concert band, but generally very educational and welcoming experience. I love it.
Anyone else?
No side.
Thank you. In your packets, you have a list of this fall's Quincy School Community Partnership donations totaling over $120,000. Again, our partners are amazing. These donations will be accepted by school committee as part of the consent agenda later in the meeting. But I do want to highlight one donation in particular. Stop and Shop, once again, is providing $15,000 in groceries for families in the Quincy Point neighborhood. Families can confidentially request food support through their schools. For additional information, parents and guardians can reach out to Clifford Marshall Elementary School Principal Heather Patch and Point Webster Middle School Principal Christine Barrett for further information. And again, thank you to all of our business partners. They really are amazing. Thanks again to the Quincy Police Department and Chief Mark Kennedy for enhancing communication safety protocols at our 2 high schools. Security officers at both schools have been equipped with police radios that have been programmed with QPD Channel 1 only, allowing security officers to contact the police department directly in urgent situations. Again, thank you to Chief Kennedy for this. Thanks to QATV for once again sponsoring the Christmas poster contest for students in grades 1 through 5. This year's theme is Historic Quincy Celebrates Christmas. Submissions are due by November 6th, and winners will be invited to ride on a float in the Christmas parade, along with having their posters featured in the Quincy Sun. So good luck with the poster contest. Upcoming Quincy Public Schools and City of Quincy events. Many elementary and middle schools celebrated Unity Day today with school-wide activities to promote kindness, acceptance, and inclusion. Students and staff were invited to wear orange to show their support for fostering togetherness in the school community. The Quincy High School Drama Club is hosting the annual Haunted Hallways event featuring ghoulish activities for elementary school families on Thursday, October 23rd from 4:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Quincy High School. The Quincy Special Education Parent Advisory Council is hosting their monthly caregiver group on Thursday, October 23rd at 6:30 p.m. at the DeCristofaro Learning Center. The meeting is also accessible online via Zoom. Information about the meeting was emailed directly to parents and guardians via Aspen. North Quincy High School football invites all local veterans to attend their Salute to Service event on Friday, October 24th at 6:30 p.m. prior to the game against Situate High School. The pregame ceremony will recognize members of the community who have served our country in the military. So thank you to everyone involved in putting that event together. Our Quincy Public Schools Marching Band and Color Guard will be among 15 bands competing in the Massachusetts Instrumental and Choral Conductors Association, better known as MICA competition. It's a state marching band championship competition on Sunday, October 26th, beginning at noontime. There will also be special performances by the 215th Army Band and the UMass Lowell and UMass Amherst marching bands. Lincoln Hancock Community School is one of the winners of the Boston Bruins Foundation Be Fit to Win It contest. On October 28th, the Bruins Foundation will host an interactive assembly for Lincoln Hancock students that focus on healthy lifestyles through nutrition, perseverance, and physical activity. The Bruins Foundation will also make a donation to Lincoln Hancock Community School. Further information on the donation amount will be provided at our next school committee meeting. Quincy 400 and the Adams Presidential Center are hosting a National Security Symposium on October 30th at 5:30 p.m. at Quincy High School. The public is invited to attend this informative and comprehensive discussion about U.S. national security spanning from the American Revolution to the present day. Virtual registration is available at adamspresidentialcenter.org. And with the end of the first quarter coming up next week, high school parents and guardians will have the opportunity to attend report card conferences on November 10th and 20th at North Quincy High School and November 13th and 18th at Quincy High School from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. These conferences are an excellent opportunity to meet with your students' teachers and gain insight into their academic successes and challenges. I urge parents and guardians to take advantage of this important opportunity. Quincy Public Schools Annual Financial Aid Night for grade 11 and 12 students and their parents and guardians is Thursday, November 6th at 6 p.m. at Quincy High School. And lastly, the City of Quincy's annual Veterans Day Parade and Remembrance Ceremony will be held on Tuesday, November 11th, beginning at 10:30 a.m. at Quincy High School and ending at Mount Wallison Cemetery. With that, that ends the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Oh, Mrs.
Correction
Perkins.
there. Sure. It ends at the Adams Walk in Merrimount Park by the stadium.
Okay, correction, the parade ends at the
Merrimack.
Adams Walk, World War II Memorial.
Adams Walk World War II Memorial.
Mrs. Perkins.
And I just wanted to add, thank you, Superintendent Mulvey, for mentioning the MICA competition, the marching band. I know that Mr. Kavanaugh was still looking for some volunteers on that, so if there's any parents watching that are connected to the marching band or the music program in general at a younger grade, you could definitely volunteer that day. It's Sunday, October 26th, again at Veterans Memorial Stadium, and you just reach out to Matt Kavanaugh if you could volunteer for that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Under old business, we have a proposed revisions to the school committee policy, section 9115, high school promotion and graduation requirements. Mr. Gutro.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. We had a discussion about this at the last meeting. We took up the high school promotion and graduation requirements some time back. We made amendments and changes. Apparently, DESE had new regs and rules, and Dr. Perkins incorporated some of the changes based on the DESE. We talked that through, and I think there might be a couple more modifications. And through you to Dr. Perkins, I would defer to her if there's anything new to share.
Mr. Gutro. So yes, we did, after the last policy subcommittee meeting, based on the committee's feedback, we did make a couple of changes. So the changes are in bold. So one of the changes was, I believe, we were asked to provide a definition of promotion. And so that is bolded under the definition section on the first page. In addition, we were also asked on the second page to clarify how some of these things would be communicated, and that you'll see in two different places that we updated that. So on the bottom of the second page, we did put in terms of opportunities to recover credit and make up coursework. We did put a sentence there that talks about these opportunities are communicated to students and families by the guidance counselors, dean, assistant principal, and or principal throughout the school year, beginning in 9th grade. And I think that was a request to kind of clarify the timeline in a couple of places. And then on the third page, again, we did also tighten this up in terms of the timeline. And I think, Mr. Gutro, I think that was something that you had requested. And so we just clarified the language a little bit under the appeal process. And you can see that bolded there. And then also an additional bullet that says when students will be notified by the end of the first quarter of their senior year by the guidance counselor or dean that they have not successfully met the competency determination requirements needed for graduation from the Quincy Public Schools. And then therefore they could request an appeal, and the rest of the items are bulleted there. And I believe there was one other spot where I just added the phrase "at any time" based on feedback, and it is bolded in the document.
Page 4.
Page 4, thank you. And those were the changes that were requested, and happy to answer any additional questions.
Oh, I'm sorry. There you go.
All right, I'm on the third page, where you put that new statement in bold.
Yep.
I feel like it should say students and parents and guardians. I think we have to make sure that we're telling the parents and guardians that, and not just the students, because they might not relay that information.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
All set with that? Mrs. Perdios?
Thank you. So I know myself, Mrs. Hubley and Mr. Bergoli weren't at the subcommittee meeting, weren't allowed to speak at the subcommittee meeting where this was discussed. So I have a couple of questions that
Sure.
sort of might have to go back for you a tiny bit.
That's okay.
But I am happy with the updated copy, the updated version here. So on page, sorry, scroll 2, thank you. On page 2, we have a paragraph here, students who do not meet the satisfactory coursework completion and mastery requirements in the above prescribed courses may enroll in one of the following options to meet the same Mass Curriculum Framework standards: summer school, evening high school goals, credit recovery courses, or additional coursework by their guidance counselor. How do we know, so if they didn't meet those mastery in those classes, how do we know that the way they make it up is going to show that, or prove mastery of what they missed, not just, I was here, I did a credit recovery class, maybe it wasn't in math. How do we know that they mastered the things that they didn't master?
So the items that they would participate in have to be aligned to the standards that would have been assessed in that course.
Okay.
So I can certainly add a sentence that clarifies that, if that would be, okay. Yeah, so any course that they take has to be aligned to, and again, this kind of goes back to the MCAS, it has to be aligned to what would have previously been assessed in the Massachusetts MCAS for ELA, math, and science based on the 2023, I think, MCAS test.
Okay. I just wanted it to be clear that we were making sure that those students got those standards.
Yes,
and
it
wasn't
has to
just
meet that
coming. Okay.
requirement, yep.
Excellent. And then on page 3, actually, that Mrs. Lieber brought up my exact same point about adding parents in there. Page 4, you have, let's see, is that, no, page 4. We have, in addition, the district will conduct a status review of CD and graduation eligibility for students who attend an in-district or out-of-district special education program. Do we want to put when they will conduct that status review? Just to kind of go to Mr. Gutro's point in subcommittee, just to allow parents enough time or students enough time to rectify the situation before it's impacting their graduation chances. So maybe we just add in the same time frame as we did in that other area. I think that might be
Yeah,
helpful.
absolutely.
And then under diploma eligibility review for previously enrolled students, when that MCAS vote came out that we didn't have to have them anymore for graduation requirement, one of the first things that came out of that I was really excited about was that some of these students that, hadn't previously been able to get their diploma would be able to. So I'm really excited about this. Are we making them do this? Are we making them request an appeal, or are we reaching out to those students kind of proactively?
Yeah, that's a great question. So students, we actually ran a report of anyone, I can't remember how far back we went. We went, like at least since COVID, right? We went back and we did reach out to them for the students that we knew that met the competency based on their coursework and what they had passed or not passed, or looking at their transcripts. We did reach out to them and have been continuing to do that. This appeal is more for someone who doesn't fall in that bucket. So based on what we looked at in their transcript, they may not have met what we would consider to be the competency determination standard. However, if a parent wants to appeal that decision, then they absolutely can.
That makes perfect sense, and I'm glad that we've reached out to them. Do we have any plans of going back further? I know that this sort of indicates from classes 2003 through 2024. I know that's a bit of work, but do we have plans to keep going back further?
We absolutely, yep, we absolutely can.
Okay.
We started with just the COVID kind of timeframe,
Right,
but.
of course, yeah. No, and it's going to take
Yeah.
some time to
Yep.
reach out and do that, for sure. And just a couple others. So I have, this is my notes from the subcommittee meeting sitting back there. Under academic credit requirements, we have that you need to have history, right, on here, social studies. Does that, so when you're in this country, it would be US history, but if someone's moving in from another country, would we be able to take their history class that they've been taught?
Potentially, as
Okay.
long as that's why the principal ultimately can have has final decision-making in that. If they can show us that that course was aligned to the standards that would have been covered under a US history course.
Okay, all right. Okay, and then the credits to graduate, the points to graduate for each school. I just wonder if you can, I know I've asked for this sort of explanation before in other places, but I think it's always good to just, again, explain why you need more credits or points to graduate Quincy High School than you do North Quincy High School. And I know it has to do with the number of periods, but if we could just describe why, we're not expecting more or something different from each high school to graduate, if you could just talk about that a little.
Right, it is because of the number of periods, because Quincy High School has an 8-period day, and North, I think, has a 6 or 7.
It's in the-
A 7.
It's in
Yeah.
here, too.
And so because of that, it has to do with the CVTE programs, or the CTE programs as well. And so because of that, Quincy High School does have a higher course requirement.
Okay, I think that was it. Thank you.
Madam Vice Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the draft high school promotion and graduation requirements as amended on page 3 by Mrs. Lebo and page 4 by Mrs. Perdios.
Motion by Mrs. Lebo, second by Mr. Begoli. MJ wants to make a
On
statement.
the motion, sorry.
I'm sorry, on the motion.
Sure.
Now that MCAS is not a graduation requirement, what are we doing to make sure high school students try their best on the MCAS test?
That's a really good question, MJ. So I think, we're working with the principals, we're working with the teachers. I think that honestly is going to have to be like a cultural shift, I think as you know, in the elementary schools and the middle schools, kids do try their best on the MCAS, even though it isn't what has never been a high stakes assessment. So I think that, through like kind of creating that culture that recognizes and celebrates student success when they do well, and that this is a measure, that it impacts scholarships, it impacts so many things. So just kind of reinforcing that and hoping, hopefully that eventually that it will just be part of normal practice like it is in the 8th grade or the 7th grade or the 5th grade, where students do try their best, and even though it isn't necessarily associated with high stakes. But I think that is going to take a few years, for that to actually happen. And I think it's going to be a work in progress. But so I think we're just going to keep trying and pushing it and letting when kids come in, and I was in elementary school today and saying like, have an MCAS rally, have teachers standing outside, like everybody, like, let's go. Like, it's a silly little thing and it might sound a little elementary, but a lot of kids will respond to, seeing their teachers kind of cheering them on when they come in the door to do MCAS, and just kind of creating those opportunities to celebrate how well students are doing.
All set. So we're going to take a vote on approving of the policy with a couple of
As amended,
amendments.
yep.
Okay.
We had a motion. a second.
Motions have been made. And roll call vote, please.
Mr. Begoli? Yes. Mrs. Cahill?
Yes.
Mr. Gutro?
Yes.
Mrs. Hubley? Yes. Mrs. Lebo? Yes. Mrs. Perdios? Yes. And Mayor Koch?
Yes.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda, we have new business, QPS 2025 MCAS and accountability data by Dr. Perkins and Mr. Marani. And the whole team. And company.
We'll go quick. So thank you very much for having us tonight to talk with you. This is our annual presentation that we give to school committee on our data and accountability information. I am so fortunate to be here tonight with the curriculum team. So we have obviously Mr. Marani, the curriculum director, Chris Tierney, the assessment and accountability coordinator. We have Kim Quinn, the math coordinator. New to our team is Kara Pekarsik, who has taken over the role of science coordinator, and Bridget Vaughn, our ELA and literacy coordinator. And before I begin, we just wanted to share a couple of highlights, things that are kind of trending around the state. I think that tonight, I will start by saying I think that we have a lot to celebrate. We've seen a lot of good improvement in some areas, and then obviously, as with everything, there's areas that we need to continue to work on and focus on. But I really do just want to celebrate the fact that this year, for the first time in a very long time, or at least in my memory that I can remember, we have 2 schools of recognition in Quincy, and if you can't tell, we're beaming about this. And the principals and the school staff, the teachers, the educators should just be so proud. And so one of those schools is Beechwood Knoll Elementary School, and the other school is Southwest Middle School. And so that is actually kind of an emotional thing to say because they've worked so hard to get there. And so we're just so proud of them and the work that they put in, and the staff, they really committed to it. And obviously, it's paid off. And I know that it's just motivated them to keep going. And so with that, we also, as I mentioned, do have some areas that we need to continue to work on. And so we still do have 2 schools that are remaining in need of assistance. One of those schools remains Snug Harbor, and Mr. Marani and I were there today working with the staff and the principal. And we have a new school that has joined that mix, which is Point Webster. And again, we also stopped by there today for their A Day. And they're digging in, and they're motivated, and they all know what they need to do. And I have no doubt that we'll be seeing more schools of recognition in the future. But in terms of the state, in grades 3 to 8, the MCAS results across the Commonwealth in ELA have increased from 2024, while mathematics has remained mostly flat. And I think that you see that a little bit in our data. We have some areas that have really done relatively well, and some areas that we still need to work on. And in general, the MCAS data is lower still than pre-pandemic levels. In 2025, we have made some nice progress towards our targets, and so I think you will see that. And one of the things I just want to highlight is, and I want to just actually thank you for this, because one of the things that we were talking when we've been working with schools, working with principals, that has come up, and I really think that this is a direct result of your support as a school committee, is that because you increase the substitute pay, we are now able to do things like have curriculum team meetings, have vertical team meetings. And nobody ever wants to leave the classroom, but those 2 hours a day pay dividends in that educator's practice, when they attend a curriculum meeting or a vertical team meeting. And so I know Kara was able to run a really awesome, and I think the teachers were very excited, science meeting and pull the science teachers together. These are things that we have not been able to do since pre-pandemic, and a large reason for that is because we just did not have the coverage to be able to do it. So it's your support in that area has gone, I just can't even say how far. It's really made a massive difference, and so for that, we greatly thank you. And just in terms of science, there were really no significant shifts across the Commonwealth in science, although in grade 8 and 10, when compared to 2024, they were a little bit lower. But also, as you're going to see in the school improvement plans, and also, in our data, as I think no surprise, grade 10 results, to MJ's point, grade 10 results were down. But I will say we did receive some data from the other urban groups, urban school systems across the Commonwealth, and our data is higher in almost every area than the other urban districts. And so I think that that is a credit to our staff. So although we also saw dips in 10th grade, it's not as low as some other cities and towns. And so I think, we're really proud of that. So just to review what we'll be covering accountability, we'll be covering the math data, the science data, the ELA, and the civics data. And we do know that this is a lot of information. We'll try to give you what you need while also not going too slow for you. And then, so going into the accountability data, I will now turn it over to Christopher.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Perkins. Tonight, I'll be walking you through our accountability report. To give you some background, both state and federal laws require that the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, or DESE, need to implement a statewide accountability system. The goal of this system is to provide clear, actionable information about how schools and districts are performing. It is designed to keep families, community members, and the public informed, while also helping DESE direct resources and support where they're most needed. This accountability framework allows the state to identify schools and districts that may need assistance or intervention, and also recognize those that are making strong progress. It's a system that aligns with Massachusetts' priorities and meets federal education requirements. The accountability report is based on two key measures. The first is the accountability percentile, which reflects a school's overall performance compared to other schools that administer similar statewide assessments. This percentile is calculated using up to 3 years of data across all accountability indicators. It's important to note that accountability percentiles are calculated only for schools, not for districts. The second measure is progress towards targets, also referred to as the criterion reference component. This looks at how well a school or district is meeting specific improvement goals. The department uses the data from all the students in a school or district to assess overall progress. This is now the third year since the pandemic that progress towards targets has been measured, again providing more of a complete picture of how schools are recovering and moving forward. The accountability system is comprised of these 5 indicators which you see here: achievement, student growth, high school completion, English language proficiency, and chronic absenteeism. DESE awards between 0 to 4 points for each accountability indicator based on how much progress has been made towards the target. It's worth noting that in some cases, student groups may still be awarded points even if they don't fully meet the target, depending on their level of improvement. Student growth points are awarded differently from target achievement points. The goal or target set forth by the state for all districts, schools, and student groups is to achieve or exceed an SGP of 50. Please note that SGPs are not calculated for science. The points earned for each indicator are combined, weighted, and then calculated into an overall percentage. This percentage gives us a clear picture of how we're progressing towards our targets. With that said, I'm pleased to share that our district has been classified as not requiring assistance or intervention. Additionally, we've been identified as making moderate progress toward meeting our goals. This reflects steady movement in the right direction and highlights the collective efforts across our schools. The first data point I'd like to note this evening is the 4-year graduation rate for high school. Overall, we did see a decline in the graduation rate compared to previous years. However, it's worth highlighting that our Hispanic or Latino student subgroups showed notable improvement, exceeding their target by 5 percentage points. Please note that this data is lagged a year, which is why you're seeing the 2024 graduation rate. However, as we look at the annual dropout rate, we're pleased to report that we exceeded our target for all students overall, which is significant achievement. In addition, we also met or exceeded the target in 8 out of 9 student subgroups, showing strong across-the-board progress. Just like the previous slide, keep in mind that this data is lagged by 1 year, meaning it reflects the previous school year's performance. Moving on to advanced coursework completion, while we did not meet our overall target, we did see notable improvement overall, along with gains in 3 out of 9 student subgroups. This indicates progress, even though there's still work to be done to reach our full goal. In high school ELA, students overall demonstrated typical low growth. However, there were some important exceptions. Our Asian, multiracial, non-Hispanic, and English learner student subgroups were each awarded 3 points for achieving typical high growth. This shows promising progress within those subgroups, even as we work to improve our overall performance. For high school math, students overall demonstrated typical high growth, with 5 out of 9 subgroups also meeting that benchmark. Notably, our Asian student subgroup exceeded typical growth, continuing a strong upward trend in this area. Now turning to ELA growth for high school grades, we were awarded 3 points for achieving high growth overall, which reflects a strong performance across the board. All of our student subgroups showed growth, with our Asian student subgroup once again exceeding typical growth, which is a great trend to see continuing. In non-high school math, we're pleased to report typical high growth overall. Additionally, 6 out of 10 student subgroups also achieved high growth, which reflects strong, broad-based progress in this area. Lastly, we have our MCAS participation. We continue to have strong participation in all grade levels. This is encouraging considering the competency determination change last year. With that said, I will now hand the presentation over to Dr. Perkins, who will speak about chronic absenteeism.
Thank you, Christopher. So I won't spend too much time on this because we did just do a presentation at the last meeting on attendance matters. However, just to refresh your memory, our goal last year was to reduce chronic absenteeism by 2% from a base of 9.9 in grades K to 8 and 3% from a base of 25.1 in grades 9 through 12. And we did not meet the goal in the non-high schools, which would be our grades 1 through 8. However, we did meet the goal in high school. And this is going to be a little confusing where we'll talk about there's different numbers now from our baseline in 2024. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But just so you can see the breakdown in terms of subgroups, in general, I think we did really, really well at the high school level. And we're hoping to continue that growth. We are only a few points away from pre-pandemic levels for chronic absenteeism at the high school. And in non-high school, you can see that we did improve in some areas, although we below target, and in some areas we did decline. And this is something that we are working with the elementary and middle school principals on. And so just in terms of a new goal for this school year, we do have that the chronic absenteeism will reduce by 3.3% in the elementary and middle schools from a base of 10.4. And we did that because that will actually put us back at pre-pandemic levels. And that it will reduce by 3.2 from a base of 21.2 in grades 9 to 12. And again, that will put us back to pre-pandemic levels. So we are very close, and we are very proud of that. And we talked a lot about the Attendance Matters campaign, the work that the district is committed to doing, the work that the schools are doing. We're just going to continue doing that, continue adding as much positivity to this campaign as we can, and just, keep spreading the word that attendance is important. We want consistent attendance. We want your kids here. We love when they're here, and we miss them when they're not. And I just want to for a second, though, talk about the difference in the base. So you'll notice that in this slide right here, in the elementary school, in the goal, the base is 10.4, but in this slide back here, our base was 9.9. And the reason for that is because initially in 2024, they counted the recovery days. they took those recovery days and, those were counted as actual school days. So those came off of the total number for chronic absenteeism. Well, they have now added that back in, and they have changed our base. So they've gone back in time and added those days back, which means that we now have a new base of 10.4. So although our goal, we didn't necessarily make progress, actually, we did actually decrease a little bit based on the data because the base has now changed. And so for English language proficiency, you're going to see the same thing. They updated the base from 2024 to 2025. They just did that with the release of the 2025 data, which made it very difficult for us to assess and kind of, feeling like it's a moving target sometimes when you set goals. But so our goal here was to increase, and this one we do want to increase our English language proficiency progress towards targets. And it was 7% in grades 9 through 12 from a base at the time of 23%, and 7% in grades 1 through 8 from a base of 51.7%. These were very ambitious goals, and we did not meet the goal in non-high school in our elementary and middle. However, we did meet the goal in high school, and so we're really proud of that work. We're going to continue to focus on the all of the grades, but in particular the elementary and middle schools. And so here you can just see that breakdown, and this is where you see that the rate is actually different. So our base, so what happened here is in 2024, they initially did not factor in the students who had taken the alternate access assessment. So students with disabilities who needed an alternative testing method, just like we do alternative assessment for our portfolio students for special education on the MCAS, they did not factor those children in. They now have factored those children in to the 2024 rate, which is why you see there's a different base from what we presented to you last year. So our new goal for this year is that for English language learners in grades 9 to 12, we would like to see an increase of 5% from a base of 33.9. And in grade 1 through 8, we would like to see an increase also of 5% from a base of 55.2. This will allow us to meet our targets and obviously make progress towards proficiency standards. And so just to review some of, because this is a district and superintendent's goal, so, a proposed goal, so some of the ways, the benchmarks and action steps that we will be focusing on. We have reviewed the 2025 access data. We've set goals and interventions. The principals have reviewed the data, both with us and with Heather Wojcik, the EL department chair, and also their EL staff. And then we have reviewed 3-year trends in this area. So some of the things that we're doing and will continue to do is we draft student success plans. Those are required by the state. They're similar to an IEP. You set goals on their proficiency targets, and they've written a goal in either oral language or literacy with an identified intervention. We have reviewed, or they have reviewed the student success plans. They're continuing that work right now. That's what they're working on actually right this very minute. And we will be sharing the student success plans with families by the end of October. And then also providing parent academies to address any concerns parents may have with the student success plans when they receive them from their EL teacher. If they have any questions or don't understand what they are or what they mean, we'll be offering some opportunities to explain that information to our families. Some of the other things we'll be doing throughout the year is keeping documentation, such as writing samples, running records of things like that, of interventions that have been implemented to move us towards their proficiency targets. And we'll also be looking, this is something the EL team will be working on, and as you know, we did just purchase a new curriculum last year for elementary and middle school EL. So we're hoping that that is also going to help in the K to 8 area or the 1 to 8 area to improve some of these scores, is that the fact that we have some new curriculum, updated curriculum. But what they would like to do is look at progress monitoring tools. So we have a lot of progress monitoring tools for things like ELA, math, we have the MAP, but something specifically for our EL students that looks at the progress that they're making towards their student success plans and progress towards proficiency. And we are also going to work with our EL teachers and our schools to make the student success plans more of a living, breathing document that is discussed at ILT meetings, PD meetings, department meetings, and really make sure that not just our EL educators, but our general educators also know what are the goals for those students, how are we all working together on those goals, to make sure that we're moving that student forward in their proficiency targets. And then, as I mentioned, we have new curriculum, so we're going to continue to work on, the implementation of that curriculum by providing professional development, and we'll continue at the middle school and high school level. They have National Geographic, the elementary has Vista. And also, the EL teachers will be participating in the Writing Revolution, which is something that we rolled out to our middle school educators last year, and some of our elementary educators as well. And then at the high school level, they are working on, as you know, as part of NEASC, developing curriculum maps for our EL classes. And finally, just at the end of the year, we'll review the new access data. We'll meet with our teams to discuss how the students did on their student success plans, and then we'll share that information with families. And I will now turn it over to Kim Quinn for mathematics.
Good evening, everyone. So our district MCAS math goal aimed for a 2% increase in the constructive response questions. When we look at the data, comparing each grade to itself, we see that we met this goal only for 6th grade, with a significant 12% increase. But if we take a look at it by cohort, we achieved our goal in every grade with the exception of 5th grade. In 2024, our 4th grade did extremely well on constructive response questions. So it doesn't surprise me when we went down this year, when we look at it by grade. Anytime we have this sort of outlier, it corrects itself the next year. So when we look at grade 4, their scores are consistently 3 to 5% higher than the state. So when last year there was 64% on constructive response questions, the state came in at 61. And these are the kind of trends that we continue to see. Next, we have the overall percentage scores of meeting and exceeding compared by cohort. You can see that we have a significant increase in grades 4 and 6, while grades 7 and 8 decrease slightly, and a more significant decrease in grade 5. And this is something that we've seen at the district and state level. This next slide shows the same data, but this time we're comparing it by grade level. And you can see that we're up in grades 4 and 5, with grade 5 having a significant increase of 4%. We remain the same in grades 6 and 7, and a decrease in grades 3 and 8. The district also outperformed the state in grades 4 and 7, with our 4th grade showing a significant improvement when compared to the state. This colorful chart provides immense insight into math MCAS by dividing data into 2 sections. We can look at it by question types and by domain. Back in 2024, the 5th grade earned 37% of the possible points in the fraction domain, while this past year increased to 52%. Grade 6 went from 38% in 2024 for statistics and probability to 55% this past spring. And 8th grade was at 46% for number systems and increased to 58% in 2025. So looking at the data in this way allows us to prioritize domains by grade level. This breakdown gives us a focus that will be useful for teachers in preparing students effectively for the MCAS and to help us achieve our MCAS goal. So the top of this slide highlights the trends we see each year in comparison with the state and particularly grade 5. Historically, as a district, we are a few percentage points higher than the state. The data shows a trend of students improving in grade 4 from our baseline in grade 3, followed by a decline in grades 5 to 8, and that recovery happening in grade 10. You can see that this trend happens at the state level as well. And last year, when we did a deep dive into 5th grade results from last year, we found that the fraction domain had dropped significantly in both state and district. As a result, we made this area a focus, and as I mentioned before, this spring, we saw a recovery in that domain. We can also see that in 2024, the fraction domain was an example of an outlier. Historically, we score around 50% in that domain. That dip happened in 2024 at the state and district level, and both state and our district recovered this past year. So when we take a closer look at the release test questions, we see another possible reason for the dip that happens after grade 4. The majority of the 4th grade released items tend to be more straightforward computation questions like the one at the top of the slide. In this example, students are asked simply to find the perimeter, while the 5th grade example focuses on the conceptual understanding of order of operations. Students are not asked to solve the expression, they're asked to explain the relationship between the numbers. These types of questions are what we start to see more of in the upper grades. These trends that we see at both the district and state level suggest that some of this fluctuation can be attributed to test factors. Now, as we look at our MAP results, it's great to see that the students not only met but exceeded their RIT goal at every grade level. And again, just to mention that this shows growth versus achievement. So we're seeing that students at each grade level are making consistent growth, and actually we're seeing growth greater than that norm growth that's expected, which is exciting. And then no matter what trends are happening, we are always looking to increase student growth and achievement. This year will be no different. Given that we exceeded our RIT growth at every grade level, we made adjustments and increased our goals for this coming year. 15 points in grades 2 to 4, 10 points in grades 5, 8 points in grade 6, and 6 points in grade 7. 8th grade will be looking for a 5 points of growth from fall to winter, given that they won't be taking the MAP in the spring. Constructive response questions will continue to be an area of focus. However, for this year's MCAS goal, we have decided to look at the bigger picture and to show evidence of achievement by an increase of 2 percentage points in the meeting and exceeding expectation achievement levels, as indicated by the PE 303 MCAS results by achievement level. To help us achieve these goals, we have Molly Vokey returning to continue her work with Snug Harbor. Math consultant Annalise Record has already worked on math fluency with our math interventionist and our K-2 teachers. And our grade 3 to 5 teachers have already also begun work on fluency as well. Amplified Demos will be providing support as we implement our new middle school math curriculum. And the professional day of learning will include topics on math anxiety and dyscalculia. We will work to increase perseverance and problem solving with ST Math and Happy Numbers. With the addition of Atherton Howe, we now have 7 elementary schools and 3 middle schools utilizing ST Math, and Happy Numbers is being used in our 4 remaining elementary schools. The math interventionist team will continue to provide targeted small group instruction. They'll also support classroom educators by sharing games and activities based on classroom needs, with a continued focus on supporting 5th grade students.
and to assist in the implementation of Amplified Desmos Math. I will work with principals to offer in-house PD at their schools. Sessions will be geared towards the individual needs of each middle school. And I'll now pass the presentation over to Dr. Karsick.
Thank you, Kim. Good evening, everyone. In terms of our science, technology, and engineering data, our first goal from last year was on the MAP test. And as you can see from the chart, we exceeded or met all of our targets with very nice growth above the target in both fourth and sixth grade. So it's very good information there. In terms of our MCAS data, you can see that our fifth grade had a positive change with grade 8 and grade 6 dropping lower instead of showing any growth. And I'll make a note that this was prior to the question 2 decision. And as a teacher who just left a classroom for the biology MCAS, I can tell you I did hear many conversations about how that did impact their motivation on that test. So to the point that was brought up earlier, I agree that there is a need to emphasize the importance for whatever we decide that importance might end up being for our district. That's a good comment to make about that test. This is the results by standard, and I just want to point out one thing because you will see it come up in the goal for this year, the constructed response. You can see just a slight dip between grades 5 and 8, and then a larger jump to grade 10. And I'll also point out in terms of the separation between the 5th and 8th grade test to the high school test just concentrates on life sciences. So you can see the life science categories from grade 5 to grade 8, 61%, then down to 50%, and then most of those grade 10 categories rise again, with the exception of the molecules to organisms domain. I'll also comment that molecules to organisms contains the most standards, and they are the most challenging of the standards that are given to biology students. So they include a lot of the biochemistry and other content that can be very challenging for students. You can also see that we are relatively consistent with science practices, and I'll again comment on science practices here shortly. The goal for MCAS particularly focused on grade 10, and again, we just mentioned that decline of 6%. We were still equal to the state percentage points in terms of the outcome for the test. So for this year, I'm going to do the MCAS goal first because this MCAS goal looks a little different than it has in the past because it is not about an overall test score. And the reason for that is because, particularly in the grade 8 MCAS, it is making a shift towards the performance-based task test. And so that is going to be a little different in terms of not having the multiple choice questions that we would expect to see in the other tests. So because of that, I thought it would be important to look at what is consistent between all three of the tests, which are the constructed response. So constructed response, which basically means students have to use evidence to support their reasoning, will be found still in all of the MCAS tests. So I thought to target that particular domain of the test in order to show an increase in writing style, not writing style, but writing ability, as well as the use of evidence. And you even heard that comment before about constructed response. This will then carry over and be cross-curricular in its support for students. You'll also notice that these percentages look like a very large increase. So I just want to take a moment to explain why they look like a big jump. Constructed response only makes up 16 points of the entire MCAS. So when we're talking about a base of 37%, that means they were able to get maybe 6 points or 7 points, anywhere between 6 and 8 of those constructed response questions. So when you add 1 point, you actually add quite a bit of percentage when you're looking for that goal. So that's why there is that jump that you see there. So in terms of the grade 5, we're looking for basically a 1 to 1.5 point increase, which would mean a student either took the time to answer an additional question or perhaps took the time to increase evidence into their answer or their reasoning, which would take them from maybe a 1 to 2 on that score, which shows improvement in their abilities to answer that question, maybe from a 2 to 3 or from a 3 to a 4. In terms of the MAP goal, we had some exceptional growth in most of our grades, so we wanted to push that just a little bit more, which is where those RIT scores that you see come from. So we're looking for 8 for grades 4 to 5, a 7-point growth for grade 6, a 6-point growth for grade 7, and then we usually go with the 3, but we thought, why not give it just a little push to that 3.5, just to see if we can get some of that increase. We do understand that the middle school teachers are piloting more open SIAD units, which I'll speak to in the action steps here in a moment. So the higher grades in middle school might be a little conservative, but we do see long-term value in them using those units and continuing to increase student reasoning abilities. For the action steps, we will help to provide professional development on constructed response. And as I mentioned, Open SIAD as a curriculum includes those abilities to be able to take that evidence and incorporate it into the reasoning. So we do have Bonnie Nevis from Educate on Purpose is coming to facilitate professional development on the Professional Day of Learning as well as on the system-wides in order to help support our middle school teachers as they move through these curriculum implementations. And then a new curriculum that's being explored by our 3 to 5 teachers is Discovery Education, which is also based on this idea of sense-making and answering questions and using evidence in order to support their reasoning as they work through those units. We are expanding the implementation of Open SIAD curriculum and increasing the number of units in middle school. This year, every teacher will be doing at least 1 Open SIAD unit. Some are doing 2, and there are a few who are also doing 3 Open SIAD units out of the 5 that can be offered for our middle school. We will promote that Discovery Education tech book, continue updating our curriculum maps. This summer, we had another round of curriculum map updating, and now we have 11 total curriculum maps that are done for our science curriculum at the high school level. And we are also going to facilitate and move towards the adoption of advanced placement or AP Physics C at the high school level to replace Physics 2, AP Physics 2. This will be a more calculus-based curriculum. The other thing I'll just point out here is I would like to facilitate, the next one, sorry. I would like to facilitate the development of some constructive response resources that complement the MCAS practice tests and DESE released items, as well as student exemplars that are released by DESE. And this will provide sort of a benchmark that can be used across the district for teachers to be able to look at progress over the course of the year. And also it can be used as we have these grade level meetings or even vertical team meetings to look at what skills do we need to focus on in different grades as we move forward thinking about these constructive response questions. And then the others to point out are just obviously our STEM Fair project, which is where they're definitely using all of those science and engineering practices, and continuing our partnership with our early college high school to help promote that type of curriculum in our high schools. And I'll pass it on to Bridget.
Thank you, Kara. It's nice to see everyone. And I'm happy to be here and present to you our ELA data and reflections from last year and our goals moving forward for this year. So the first slide you see here is a reflection on the 24-25 ELA MAP goal. The slide reflects our district's progress toward the superintendent's student learning goal for ELA in the 24-25 school year, focusing specifically on reading growth as measured by the NWEA MAP assessment. The goal summary here is that students in grades 2 through 8 were expected to show growth in their reading scores measured in RIT points from fall to spring. The district set differentiated target growth expectations by grade level, specifically grade 2, 12 RIT points, grade 3, 10 RIT points, grade 4, 5 RIT points, and grades 5 through 8, 3 RIT points. These targets are aligned with national norms and growth expectations provided by NWEA for typical academic progress over a school year. So an overview of these results show that the average RIT scores for each grade level in fall, winter, and spring, along with the total growth achieved and whether or not the goal was met. You can see that 7 out of 7 grade levels met or exceeded their growth targets, indicating strong district-wide performance in reading. Grade 2 and 3 rather, show particularly strong gains, surpassing their already ambitious growth goals. Overall, this data demonstrates that the district has achieved and surpassed the superintendent's ELA goal for 24-25 with clear evidence of reading growth across nearly all grade levels. Next slide, please. So now a reflection on our ELA MCAS goal for 24-25. This slide reflects progress toward the second ELA goal, which focuses on student writing performance as measured by the MCAS. For 24-25 school year, students in grades 3 through 8 were expected to show improvement in writing as measured by the increases in percentage points in the writing domain of the MCAS. 2 different views of student progress are presented, our year-over-year data in the chart on the left and our cohort data on the right. So the year-over-year chart there compares the same grade level from one year to the next. In reflecting on this, while grade 6 was the only grade to meet its year-over-year writing growth target, the data across other grade levels still provides very valuable insights. Some grade levels experienced a decline or did not meet the minimum expected increase. However, we view this not as a setback, but as an opportunity to sharpen our instructional focus. In looking at the chart over on the right, it compares how a cohort of students progress from one grade to the next. For example, students who are in grade 3 in 2024 and in grade 4 in 2025. Building upon what I just mentioned about improving student outcomes over time, cohort growth is much more positive. Most grade level cohorts met or exceeded their targets, with growth ranging from +2% to +6%. So an overall summary of Goal 2, the year-over-year comparison shows increases in 3 grade levels and decreases in 3 grade levels, with grade 6 meeting its target. The cohort analysis reveals stronger growth, with 3 out of 5 cohorts meeting or exceeding goals. And these results suggest that while some grade levels struggled compared to last year's performance, students are making progress over time, especially when considering their individual growth as they advance through the grades. This dual perspective, year over year and cohort, helps us better understand student progress and tailor supports accordingly. While year-over-year comparison highlights system-wide areas for improvement, cohort data shows instructional strategies that are positively impacting students' long-term writing growth. So for our colorful ELA overall MCAS question types and standards chart, this slide provides the breakdown of student performance on the spring ELA MCAS, highlighting how students performed across 3 different question types: constructed response, essay, and selected response, and the 3 content domains in ELA: language, reading, and writing in grades 3 through 10. Students in grades 6 through 10 performed particularly well in selected response questions, the SR column right there, with scores ranging from 64% to 69%, showing strong comprehension and multiple choice strategy skills. Across grades 6 through 10, students also demonstrated consistent strength in reading and language domains, both reaching up to 71% of possible points. Writing scores steadily increased from grade 3 at 23% to grade 10 at 54%. This reflects clear growth in writing skills as students progress through the grades. Performance improved significantly, beginning in grade 5, peaking at 62% in grade 10, indicating that students are developing more advanced written expression over time. These results show that while early grades are still building foundational writing skills, upper grades are achieving at higher levels across all domains, signaling the positive impact of instruction over time. And this slide represents the overall cohort data for ELA MCAS, focusing on the percentage of students meeting or exceeding expectations from 24 to 25. Overall, the data shows that encouraging progress in ELA performance across most grade levels. The most significant gains were seen in the cohort moving from grade 5 to 6 and grades 7 to 8, each showing a plus 13% increase in students meeting or exceeding expectations. The grades 6 to 7 cohort also improved with a plus 2% gain, while grade 4 to 5 saw a plus 1% increase. These results highlight positive growth in ELA achievement as students advance through the grades. Only one cohort from grade 3 to 4 showed a decline of minus 4%, but the overall trend remains upward. This data suggests that instructional efforts and student progress in ELA are yielding positive results for the majority of students. And our year-over-year MCAS here, this slide displays the ELA MCAS for 24-25 in year-over-year performance, as well as QPS results versus the state averages. This data highlights several notable gains. Grade 7 showed the most significant improvement, rising plus 8% from 41% to 49%, and performing plus 7% above the state average. Grade 4 also had a plus 5% increase and outperformed the state by plus 2%, while grade 6 improved by plus 4% and outpaced the state by plus 9%. Grade 8 maintained strong performance with a plus 2 increase and was plus 10% higher than the state average. Grade 5 remained steady at 38%, matching the state average. Although grades 3 and 10 experienced declines, negative 7% and negative 8% respectively, grade 10 still remains above the state average by plus 1%. The overall trend suggests strong district-wide performance, particularly in the middle grades, with multiple grades outperforming the state by significant margins. And so for our new district and superintendent student learning goals for 25-26 school year, Goal 1 targets growth in reading using NWEA map data, and students in grades 2 through 8 are expected to demonstrate measurable progress with specific Grit point growth targets. Many of these growth targets were increased over the last couple of years, but we decided to bump up grade 4 a bit. So you'll see in bold, we're expecting grade 4 to grow 7 points from fall to spring. And grade 8 is expected to show a 2-point gain from fall to winter. This is what the national norm expects over the course of an entire year, but we're gonna shoot for that goal from fall to winter, since grade 8 won't be taking the map in spring. And our second goal there focuses on achievement measured by MCAS. Students will be expected to show a 2 percentage point increase overall on the PE 303 MCAS results by achievement level report. And together, these goals show a strategic commitment to both growth and achievement in reading and ELA, supporting students across all performance levels. For our action steps for this year, the district ELA action steps for 25-26 offer a bright path forward for literacy success. The first one focuses on strengthening early literacy skills, the district placing a powerful focus on the foundational years in grades K through 3 by conducting regular literacy screenings and progress monitoring. This ensures that every child receives the right support at the right time. By understanding each student's unique skill level, teachers can deliver both personalized instruction and targeted intervention that inspire confidence and academic growth in all learners. The second action step there is about empowering educators with targeted professional development. Teachers are being equipped like never before through engaging professional development in all areas of language arts, reading, writing, listening, speaking. Educators will grow their skills and strategies with support from top-tier partners like Lexia, the Writing Revolution, national literacy experts, so that teachers can feel more confident and capable, ultimately leading to more meaningful and effective instruction for students. The third piece there is that we're expanding our learning through local conference opportunities like the Massachusetts Reading Conference and NELMS, which is the New England League of Middle Schools. And our fourth action step there is about boosting reading fluency and comprehension for all students. We expanded greatly, thank you to the school committee and the entire curriculum team with expanded access to Lexia Core 5 and Lexia Power Up. Students at all levels are gaining have access to powerful tools to improve their reading skills. These platforms are research-based, engaging, and they have the addition of the native language support, which ensures multilingual learners receive instruction that meets them where they are, making literacy accessible to everyone. Finally, we've added increased access to high-quality texts. Students will now enjoy even more opportunities to dive into rich, diverse literature through a curated subscription to Sora and Overdrive. With ebooks and audiobooks just a click away on the Clever platform, reading is now easier, more exciting, and more accessible, and igniting a lifelong love of learning and literacy. So in summary, these action steps represent a bold and thoughtful vision for literacy in 2025-26. By empowering teachers, supporting students, and expanding access to tools and resources, the district is building a stronger, more inclusive ELA program that ensures every student thrives. And I will pass over to Mr. Marani for civics.
Thank you, Bridget, and good evening, everybody. Before we discuss the civics results, I do just want to remind everybody that the spring of 2025 was the first operational year of the grade 8 civics MCAS, and it was only for grade 8. That was the only civics-based MCAS across all grades. I am very pleased to report that we exceeded the state results by 5%. So we managed to earn 44% of our students achieving, exceeding, or meeting expectations, whereas the state was at 39. And one item not on there but worth mentioning is when you look at our score of, again, 44% of the students getting, exceeding, or meeting, and you compare that to urban districts, we actually doubled them. So their average was 22%, ours was 44%. So when you compare us to urban districts, we're looking even stronger. And then as we look at the question types, the domains, and the civics practices, definitely the theme is, we're above the state across the board. So in all of those categories, you'll see that though we're close, we're managing to exceed the state by 2 or 3%, depending on the specific category. I do just want to highlight civic knowledge and analyzing sources as our strongest results at this time, with civics-based questioning being our lowest, which is also the state's lowest results, which is why it's going to drive a focus of our goal for this upcoming year, which is ultimately what we're looking for is a 6 percentage point increase in the civic-based questioning practice. So we hope to increase that 6%. That'll put us in line with those other categories in terms of how we achieved. And the action steps to do this, the first around instruction and assessment. So that first step, embed daily source analysis practice into the instruction. So we just want students to have as much opportunity throughout their classroom experience to get comfortable analyzing primary and secondary sources. We're also going to make sure that students encounter classroom assessments that align with the assessments that they're going to see. Now that we have an operational test, we're just going to make sure that our questions show some consistency so that when our students sit down to take that civics exam, they're not walking into questions being unfamiliar with those questions. And I do just want to point out that we are going to focus on developing a QPS, so a district-wide civics project guide. And ultimately, the goal there is to create some alignment across all 5 middle schools, obviously in compliance with the Massachusetts requirements, but at the same time, making it Quincy's a district-wide initiative. I'm very pleased to report that we were the recipients of the DESE Civics Teaching and Learning Grant, which is on tonight's agenda, and that's going to help us do that in a way that doesn't compete with our system-wide PD time. So we'll be able to focus on building that outside of that system-wide PD time. And then when we look at the last 2, we want to create a cohesive pacing guide. So one of the issues is making sure that though the range of topics, when you look at students in grades 5, 6, 7, up to 8, there's a wide range of topics that our students are encountering during that time frame. And so we just want to make sure that as we look at our pacing guides, we're creating opportunities for students to encounter civic-based questions. So we just want them to be practicing understanding civic-based concepts. Even if it's applicable to an ancient civilization, there's still a lot of common terminology there. And so what we want to do is make sure that we're creating as many opportunities to prepare our students for that 8th grade civics assessment well before they encounter 8th grade. And then with that last step, cross-grade vocabulary and concept alignment. So looking for those common phrases that are applicable regardless of the type of government that's being studied, and making sure that students have the opportunity to get comfortable with that terminology so that they can build those skills, those civic-based skills, no matter what standard they're covering, whether it's down in elementary and then up through middle school. So with everything that you heard, and we understand it's a lot, so we thank you for your time and attention. We have a lot of work to do. This is really the starting point. A lot of planning has been taking place, will continue to take place. As Dr. Perkins mentioned, we were at assessment days today at both Snug Harbor and Point, but that across the board, all schools were focusing on their data today. Department meetings, vertical and grade level team meetings, et cetera, et cetera. These are going to be focuses in driving our planning and our decision making. Of course, we all have the program improvement plans and school improvement plans to look forward to, so those are underway. We'll have those ready for you in the next few months. And then, of course, implementation, the most important part, what those educators are doing throughout the city to help our students. And everything we discussed today is to help drive that and facilitate that in a positive way. And of course, we reflect and progress monitor along the way. So with that, again, thank you for your time and attention. For all that information, we welcome any questions that you might have.
You guys tricked us because we thought there was only 2 people going to present, and now there's like 10. Okay, start with questions. Anyone on this side? Okay.
Very, very impressive on the absenteeism at the high school.
Yeah.
That's a big nut to get over.
Definitely.
I really think it is. That was amazing to see, and hopefully that will just continue. I was also happy to see grade 5 in math looking pretty good, too.
Much better, yeah. I think we have a lot of reason, to celebrate. We're
I think so, too.
heading in the right direction. We definitely still have work to do, but I think in general, we're really heading in the right direction.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Do you want to go?
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. I remember last year it was a little dismal, I think was the feel, and I feel like this is a little bit better. We're going in the right direction, especially, and I don't know if I remember, maybe my memory is not serving me right, the year over year versus the cohort. I really liked looking at it like that. I don't know if we did that last year, but I really like seeing that. That's where you can see the impact we're making is in the next grade, because it's those kids, it's a different grade 3 this year than the grade 3 last year. So it's hard to compare that, but I really like the cohort way of looking at it as well. And I think that that's a positive way to look at it as well. So, still work to do, which I think you guys acknowledge, which is good. So I'm just going to probably start at the beginning. I'll try to get through them really fast. So, and I'm going to start way back where you had the graduation rate. How many seniors, do we know, so I know this data is, you said it was 2024. Do we know if it got any better for 2025?
We don't know that, we don't know that yet, and they won't release that until the end of the year, like, at this year, whatever, 2026. So, and the one thing I would just point out about that, although the four-year graduation rate wasn't as good as it typically is for us, I think that the thing to just point out is that the dropout rate, the annual dropout rate was actually pretty good for that year, which means although they may not be graduating in 4 years, we are still engaging them and they are eventually finishing.
Okay.
So that, I just want to just point that out, but we don't, and especially the way that they look at it right now, we don't have that information. We certainly know who the kids are that didn't graduate.
Right, that's
But I
that's
don't
what I was
know,
asking.
I mean, how they do their math, I
Okay.
sometimes could not tell you.
Yeah, I was just trying to
Yeah.
get a sense of if last year was better than that year before.
I definitely think it's going to be better.
Okay.
I think that some of this we knew because of COVID, because this is lagged a year. So this is, even though it's 2024 data, it's actually really 2023 data, So I definitely think we knew that between, say, 22, 23, 21, we definitely knew that there was some concern with the four-year graduation rate for sure. But I absolutely think we're going to start seeing it improve again.
That's great. Yeah, I just worry when we start dipping into the 80s,
Yeah.
what
We-
we're
we
looking
do
at. So,
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's why I'm hopeful that we're going the other way. And it
We're
sounds like-
looking at who are those kids?
Yeah.
Right, who are those kids that didn't graduate? We have a dropout prevention team. We try, if the students aren't engaged with us, and they didn't graduate, then we make outreach all year long. We try to get them back. We try to, as creative as we can get to get them to finish and graduate, we do that, which is why the dropout rate is pretty good, because of that reason. But
Okay,
we're
thank you.
definitely watching that, and we're going to be working on that.
Okay, thank you. And then the advanced coursework completion, that data, it disappointed me a little bit. I was hopeful that would be a little bit better. I am excited about the new Advanced Pathways Program Improvement Plan that we're going to be, allow us to take a deeper dive into some of those advanced courses. So I hope that will actually help with this slide and help with this data and maybe help us identify some areas in the advanced courses that we still could do even better with. So I'm hopeful, so I'm disappointed on one end, but I'm hopeful that we have a way to address that kind of moving forward. Great to see, as Mrs. Lebo said, about the high school chronic absenteeism rate. I mean, that's obviously a direct result of the amount of effort and attention you all and the high school principals and everyone at the high schools has put in. So hopefully we can stop reminding kids to come to school, and like it used to be the old days, you just went to school, right?
Right.
And so just going into math, I mentioned that I love seeing the context between the year over year and the cohort. That really was helpful. Why is ST math being used for some schools and happy numbers being used for others?
Great question. So ST Math, we get through a grant through the 1-8 Foundation, and the way they roll that out is a couple schools at a time. So we've slowly rolled that out, starting with schools that were interested in it. And as it's kind of picked up, then more schools have been interested. And we find that that works better than just saying, hey, you all have to do ST Math. So that's why. But at the same time, we wanted to make sure that everybody had something in terms of a digital supplement. So that's where Happy Numbers comes in for those other schools.
Okay, but we are looking sort of, as ST Math is the one we prefer to have, sort of, and we're sort of just getting there with the grants that are happening?
Exactly, yeah. In terms of, like I said, I think it's Atherton that's jumped on this year.
Great, okay, thank you. And then the science, welcome to the curriculum team, Mr. Carsey. I appreciated the explanation on the MCAS goal, the way you're looking at it a little bit differently. I really do, that's helpful to see. Would it be helpful at all to look at, I know because I feel like that you just don't have as many data points for the science MCAS to look at. Would it be helpful to look at AP science test scores and sort of see, I know that that's really a subset of kids, but seeing how they're scoring on the AP science test, the AP physics test, and just seeing, would that give you another data point to sort of say that kids are getting those standards kind of at that level, or would that be something that's too out of this? Not apples to apples enough?
I think it's definitely something you can look at, but I think you also need to take into consideration that then I don't think you're getting the whole picture of the entire grade band.
Right.
So with the MCAS, you're at least looking at every student having taken that test. It would also be nice to see our students taking AP courses then meeting those standards, but I think it would be a different, I don't think it would be the type of kind of cohort thing that you're thinking about or show that growth that we're looking for, because it narrows so much when they get to the AP level.
Yeah, I was more just brainstorming on that, just trying to find another data point where there's so many for the other,
Absolutely.
the other subjects. And then lastly on physics, just, I think our eighth grade team is just so strong in physics and, civics, not physics. Mr. Pavo and Ms. Principe were fantastic for my kids going through on civics, and just they enjoyed it. In addition to learning a lot, so I'm so proud of our civics program and our teachers there, as all the teachers, but certainly on those. So thank you. Thanks for your patience on all my questions.
Thank you. Great presentation. Appreciate doing a deep dive in each of the different areas. So these are all for Dr. Perkins, my questions. So a couple of times you just said they won't release it the way they do the math. Whose data is this? Is it ours or DESI's or somebody else's?
So the Department of Education takes what we give them,
Yeah.
and then they give it back to us. But they do, I honestly, I mean, I don't know if we could answer the question as to how they end up tabulating or getting those numbers.
So is this their presentation? Because it doesn't say source, DESI.
It's all from the Department of Ed. It's all public information. It's on the district profile page. It's all, so we, through our state reporting, we give them data from Aspen. And then, so for the ones that you're talking about, the Department of Ed then takes that information, compares it to other districts and schools that are the same size, that are the same grade level, and lots of different things, and then gives it back to us. There's some kids that they don't count, there's some kids that they do, but they have a whole, they have a whole procedure that they follow and way of doing things in terms of the accountability data. They take, 3 years of data on some of these things, but 2023 is only worth 15%. 2024 is worth, 20% or something, and then 2025 is worth 60%. So it's complicated.
It's agony. So do you ever go through what they submit and analyze and say, hey, that's not right?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We do.
And where did you find discrepancies?
Sometimes we find discrepancies, and sometimes it's not that we necessarily find discrepancies, but we don't think things look right. And so one of the areas, we've called and questioned, for instance, the baseline changes in the EL data and in the chronic absenteeism data. We had one set of data, and then all of a sudden they changed. And that happened in a couple of places when the Department of Ed released the data in the fall this year. And so, Christopher calls and asks, what's going on. We actually called last year because we didn't think the advanced coursework looked correct, and so we called to make sure that they were counting all of our students. And one of the things so it wasn't that it was necessarily wrong, it's that if I'm a student and I take 5 different forms of what they would consider to be advanced coursework, which is, CVTE, it's AP courses, it's early college, high school, there's a lot that goes into what they constitute as advanced placement. However, I could be in 5 of those things, I could be in 1 of those things, and that only counts as 1. So even though a student may take 5 courses, it only counts for 1 data point. Not all of they don't count it by course. So we had to look into that and figure out, what was going on there. We feel like we offer so many things. Why was that not represented in the data? But it wasn't necessarily that the data was incorrect. It's just how they figure it out. So we've called on a couple of things like that.
Wow. That's painful.
Got it?
Yeah, so, and this gets to the point, I think, that Mrs. Lebo and Mrs. Perdius were talking about. And what were you saying about the numbers? Because it says 2024. Are you saying they might be 2023? Is that, what were you
No,
saying?
no. So the 2024 numbers on chronic absenteeism and EL proficiency, when we initially came to you last year with a very similar presentation and we presented the goals, we told you that in chronic absenteeism, the elementary school chronic absenteeism base, according to what the Department of Ed gave us, was for us was 9.9. That was the base. So any improvement that we were making from a base of 9.9. And that has been true all through school year 24-25, and then enter into school year 25-26. We're in school has started. We still think our base is 9.9, and lo and behold, we open up the website one day, one lovely fall day, and the base is now 10.4.
And so when you say you won't, like, for graduation rates or chronic absenteeism or dropout rates for last school year, 2025, you know what you submitted.
We know who the students are. I don't know off the top of my head how many students were
And they're going to
reported.
do some other kind of math. That do you, like, if you had to anticipate what their math is, to Mrs. Perdios' question, where are the numbers? I mean, I know, like, it sounds like there are 5 people in the state that know how they calculate this, or it's just some crazy, like, we can't anticipate and project
I think-
based on what happened last year.
Yeah, I think we always hover around where our 4-year graduation rate is actually really good, although we did dip this year. That's the first time we've seen a dip in a very long time. And so we typically hover in the 90s, so I think, although I will say we did definitely notice a concern, like we're not surprised that we saw
For 2024.
yeah, for 2024, because we knew what had kind of been happening in the world for those years leading up to 2024, and so we knew that there were kids that were struggling, and we see that in our data. But I would anticipate, the next year's data, I think we're going to start seeing that tick back up because we have been, re-engaging students, working really hard to, get kids to graduate. You also have the new competency determination regulations, which I also think are really going to potentially change that 4-year graduation data. So, but when I say that they do, sometimes they count students and sometimes they don't. It depends on how long the students have been in the school. There's a whole bunch of things and that's why it takes them so long to get it out to us, is because they're validating their data and, making sure that, they're doing it, I guess, fairly, and that, that it makes sense.
So two final questions, and I thought I only had one question, but apparently I have more. So the chronic absenteeism and the dropout rate showed improvement across the board for 2024. I mean, those were good numbers, those were improvement. But then the graduation rate was a monstrous disappointment in certain segments. Like, blown away by how those two things are happening at the same time. And then the final question I have is, the promotion and graduation requirements that we just put in place for next year, or, will this change that graduation rate?
I think you're going to see an increase in the graduation rate, yes.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Yeah. Because of this and the communication, or some other variable that we don't?
I think because prior to it, they had to pass MCAS, and a lot of students didn't pass MCAS or didn't pass it within 4 years. So graduation rate
That's
is
the data I
a
would love-
4-year. That's a 4-year thing, right?
Love to see that overlay right there.
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely pull that for you, but that graduation rate is a 4-year. So not all kids graduate in 4 years. Some kids take 5 years. Some kids actually are even with us for longer than 5 years. but in the end, they graduate. So that's why you see the dropout rate is so low. They might not do it in 4 years, but they do graduate. And so that's the connection between the two. However, would we love to see that number? We want that number higher. We want more kids graduating in 4 years, absolutely. And historically, that's been a huge strength for us. In fact, probably one of the highest graduation rates in the state, by far. We've been actually the state has actually commented and recognized us for for things like that, the dropout rate, the graduation rate, because big cities like us don't typically see graduation rates like that.
So
Even
not-
in an 80%, it's still very unusual.
Not to make you speculate, but for the 2024 graduation data, what percentage of those folks that did not graduate were MCAS related?
I don't think I could actually.
Would you say it's 50%, 5%?
I would say, I think it could be significant. It could be higher. I would say it's probably more than 5, because again, it's students who didn't graduate in 4 years. Doesn't mean they didn't eventually graduate. They didn't graduate in 4 years. So if I didn't pass the MCAS in 10th grade, and that was the competency determination, that was what I needed to graduate, then I'm not going to graduate. So,
I'm just saying,
yeah.
if it's 50% MCAS, then that's a different ball of wax. But if it's something else, I would be curious to do the analysis of what, and how that won't repeat itself next year.
Yeah, and we definitely can look at that for you.
Curious. Thank you. Could you put the superintendent's mic on?
Oh, sorry.
Just real quick, just some important data, just to kind of put it in perspective for the committee and for the people at home. QPS is still number 2 statewide in urban district graduation rates, with Newton number 1, Quincy number 2. And Quincy is 7% higher than the number 3 district.
Fascinating.
So just to kind of put it in perspective
Yeah,
for
that
you.
is just crazy stuff.
Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I think we need to think about demographics and
Yeah.
kids coming into school system later in their academic journey, might be coming in, late in middle school or beginning of even high school, some of these students. So there's all these other factors we have to think about, right? And again, I think we're doing pretty well in comparison to our counterparts out there in the state. My only question is, I know we want attendance to be 100%, right? But historically, I'm going to assume there has to always be a certain percentage of students, let's say pre-pandemic, 10%, 8%, is that like a standard number that throughout history is always going to be there? Do you know?
I
You know what I mean?
definitely think you're always going to have a percentage of students that probably are chronically absent.
Yeah.
We'd like that number to be as low as possible. And, and it's for us, when you're thinking about chronic absenteeism, kids are going to be absent, students are going to be absent. That's okay.
Right.
It's when you get to the point that you're absent over the course of the year, more than 18 days, that's when you fall into the chronic absenteeism. Being out, I have the flu for a week, that happens.
Yeah.
But there are kids and families who struggle, and there's always going to be, we would like that number to be as low as possible, but there definitely is always going to be that percentage of the population.
Yeah, and not kids that are sick for a week because of illness or something. But I'm thinking, we're working really hard to get the number down, which we're doing. You guys are doing a great job with that, But in my mind, I'm saying there's probably always, again, that baseline before the pandemic that will always probably be there. No matter how hard we work there's going to be families and students who maybe don't. It's just not.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not going to happen. Okay, that's it for me. Anyone? No. Thank you, everyone, for your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Oh, geez, sorry.
So I understand that high school wasn't the true focus of the data that we just went over, but it was briefly mentioned, and it caught my attention when the AP Physics C curriculum was brought up. So I'm really happy about that because there are a lot
Great.
of classmates that I have that are really excited to do, especially calculus-based physics, which is really good. But my main question is the possible implementation of AP classes at the lower grades, so 9th and 10th grades. So I'm aware that there are other schools who do AP classes starting from 9th grade. And even not, if it's not possible to do it at 9th grade, maybe 10th grade would be great, because I do understand that there are some students out there who are already worrying about college, even though like 2 years might be already too early. And so my question is, like, how long would it take if that would be implemented and if it's possible?
I think we'd have to look at, scheduling and staffing and all of those things, but we definitely can take a look at it. We do offer, just a distinction, which I think you're saying, we offer advanced classes in 9th and 10th grade, but they're not connected to the AP exam, correct? Yeah, yeah, so I think, we can take a look at that and see what we can do if there are any areas that we could offer, to be able to take an AP exam at the end of the course. Yeah.
My other question about AP classes is that why there should be a grade lock on some of them. For example, AP biology and AP chemistry, you would already have to pass or complete certain biology or chemistry courses already in the 9th and 10th grade. And so I was wondering if that could be switched down, for example, and other AP classes in other courses that could be offered, such as like AP Seminar or AP Macroeconomics, which there's a complete dearth of at the school because it's mainly STEM focused. And I do know there are a lot of people who are interested in doing like business, for example, and that's not really touched upon. They're mostly offered as electives and not even advanced level courses.
Yeah, I think we can take a look at it. I'll let our science coordinator answer the question about the requirements for the AP courses for science.
I think that part of the reason is traditionally AP courses go into a lot more depth, and so having that background allows you to move through that curriculum at the pace that is expected of you. I do know that there are some school districts, as you said, who may offer AP biology earlier. With the way it was set up at our high schools, it made sense to have that preemptively in order to give those students that advantage as they moved into AP Bio. It is certainly something that we can look at how other school districts do that, but this is just how it was set up for our high school pathways in order to give you that background. AP Bio, I know also relies heavily on having some chemistry background as well. And so I think that was the intent, was to be able to give students as much of the background information as they needed to move forward and be successful in there.
I do have one last question. So this is something entirely new that I thought of while you guys were talking about this, but the standardized testing for colleges, such as like the ACT and the SAT. So of course there are a lot of high school students, probably the vast majority of them are planning to take standardized testing, and I was wondering if that could be like slightly implemented into the curriculum, because as someone who did take standardized testing myself, the first time I took standardized testing, I was greatly shocked by my strangely lower side, especially on the English section, and that was puzzling to me first time I saw that, because I am a native English speaker. And so I was wondering if it'd be possible to reintroduce earlier subjects, even such things like sentence structure, which a lot of people do struggle on without even knowing it in the earlier grades, in the later grades, because sometimes what sounds right is not actually right. And so I was wondering if that could be brought up again in later grades, like 9th grade even.
Yeah, we can talk to the department heads about that and take a look at that. I think previously, we did used to offer some AP prep, SAT prep courses and things like that. But that's definitely something that we can take a look at and see how we could incorporate it into the English curriculum or the math curriculum, things like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My comment was on the civics project. I did it in 8th grade. We started it, but we didn't continue with it. We never finished it. So I think it's good to see an actual timeline. It seems like a really interesting project.
Great.
So good to see that with guys.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
You are dismissed. Thank you. All set. Superintendent, your goals 2025?
Again, everyone, at your place are the superintendent's goals for 2025, 2026. You've heard already some of the student learning goals and the district improvement goals. Those are there for your review. Obviously, as we have done in the past, we typically move these into the teaching and learning subcommittee so that you can do a deeper dive on the goals, make tweaks to them, suggestions to them, and so forth. One of the goals that I'm proud to see in there this year around is the Quincy Public Schools Administrative Mentoring Goal, which is really the professional practice goal. That is obviously has many components to it, but two of the key components I think that will extremely benefit the district is our administrative leadership pipeline, seeking out future administrators who may have interest in becoming an administrator, a principal, assistant principal within the district. It really is important to build that bullpen so that in the future we have competent and highly qualified administrators in the district to pick from as we move forward. It's something that I know for many, many years we've tried to do, and so we're moving forward with that this year. In addition to that, we're also focusing on, in building leadership, focusing on administrators' ability to better perform in educator evaluation, focusing in on streamlining it throughout the district, making sure that the claim evidence impact judgment format is being used not only for our observations, but also for our formative and summative assessments. Again, when we streamline this and put those, claim evidence impact judgment format in for administrators to use, it makes it easier for them. It makes it easier for our teachers and educators to know going in what the expectations are, and they know that from school to school, the process will be the same and the expectations will be the same, and that the feedback is clear and concise so that they're always improving in their areas of practice. So this is definitely a goal that I'm very excited about, the leadership is very excited about, and I do want to take the opportunity, of course, to thank the SLT, who you've seen here tonight, as well as all of the others back there who really have worked to help develop these goals to make our district overall stronger and do the very best we possibly can do for our students and families. So with that, the goals are there for your consideration. I look forward to any feedback that you may have.
I just want to comment on one thing that you said about the administrative mentoring. We heard from the summer programs, all of the teachers in the district who stepped up to lead things, and I think it's so great that we're going to give them opportunities to really get those skills. I think it's wonderful. I think that really is a wonderful goal, all parts of it.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if, I have some comments, and I also love that goal, but I have some comments and some questions, but I'm happy to hold those until teaching and learning. But I'd just like to ask if we do, when that does come up in teaching and learning, could that be a committee of the whole meeting? Thank you.
Okay, next we have MASC conference resolutions for a voice vote. Mrs. Hubley.
All right, thank you. On November 14th, I'll be heading to the Mass Association of School Committees Delegate Assembly, and I'm pleased to say that this year we only have one resolution to go over with everyone. And then I can make it to the open meeting law update sessions, which I'm very excited to be able to go to that. So the first resolution is removing the BMI testing from schools submitted by the Grafton School Committee. Just briefly, there's a lot of whereas, but I'll say, whereas students are required by law to have updates of physical exams by their healthcare provider upon entering school and every 3 to 4 years thereafter, and any serious health conditions should be managed by a medical professional, 105 CMR 200.100. Therefore, let it be resolved that Mass Association of School Committee urges the removal of the BMI screening requirement from all public schools. I did have a chance to talk to Andrea Hua, our QPS health director, who said that she was 99% on board with us voting yes for this. She did state that QPS does do height and weight checks that are mandated screenings by the State Department of Public Health, but QPS does not do BMI, and they do not report these numbers to anyone. What they do report is the actual number of screenings that are done, but they do not report the height or weight. She said this is only done in grades 1, 4, 7, and 10. Her concerns were over whether this not doing the screening would result in a loss of funding for the schools. And I did have a call in to Glenn Kusher, who's looking into that. And her other concern was that there can be an exception for times when a provider may request that the nurses do height and weight assessments as part of an ongoing medical care per the request of the student's medical provider, which I told her I could make in the form of an amendment to the resolution if we so voted yes and had me make an amendment to the resolution. That would be her suggestion, and she was good with that. So I would vote yes with the amendment, would be my recommendation.
So was she saying that if a child's or a student's medical professional is going to ask her for the BMI of a student?
She felt that it might, not the BMI, the height and weight. She doesn't do the BMI. She said that she would do the height and weight for the medical provider, is what she was saying, that she would want the assessment to, the amendment to read that if asked by the
Just the
medical
height and weight,
provider, we
not
would,
BMI.
yeah, as part of an ongoing medical care provider, being provided by that. So that would be her recommendation.
Thank you. Thank you for that detailed, and for talking to Andrea about that. I actually also called her, and my first question was about the funding. If we didn't do it, are there monies that are coming in for health initiatives? Is that what they're using? If they're collecting height and weight from all communities and they're noticing some are, struggling with childhood obesity, are they giving those areas more money to combat health or to increase health initiatives? And so I wouldn't want to lose that funding if we did, so I'm glad to hear that you're looking into that.
Yeah, but we're not giving them the height and weights. We are only telling them how many kids we screened.
Okay.
That's what she said. She said we
Okay.
do not actually give them the numbers that we take for the height and weights. Those are kept in our own personal, we have those.
Okay. And Andrea did mention that she gets, every child has to have a physical anyway, so they already have, so the child and the family is already getting that information, so she was comfortable with it. And my only other concern would be just to make sure that we maintain our focus on health, nutrition, and the importance of moving and exercise. And I'm sure our health department, our health teachers do an excellent job with that anyway. I just want to make sure that we don't drop back on any of that priority and focus, and Andrea didn't seem to think that she would want to do that in any way. So as long as we're still just putting that message out there to our students to just be healthy and active and make good choices, that I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, that doesn't have anything to do with this resolution.
Right, I just wouldn't want us to say,
Yeah,
take
no,
out
it's-
BMI, and then no one pays any attention to health anymore, so.
Yeah, like I said, we're not calculating the BMI anyway, so.
Yeah,
Can I
okay.
make a motion? Can I make a
Motion.
to have Mrs. Hubley present that with the amendment?
Motion by Mrs. Lebo, second by Mr. Begoli. Voice vote, do we just, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
The other resolution on here is not actually one resolution, it's a compilation of all. There are 6 resolutions that we already voted on, that they are working on, that they need us to vote to continue working, to just continue with the progress that they're working. So we just need to vote as a consent agenda for all of them. They will not be broken up, they'll be voted on as a packet. So I need a motion to vote yes on being able to let them continue their work.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So do you have information about how we voted on each of those previously?
I do not have that with me, no.
I mean, did we vote for some and against others as a body?
Possibly, but they were all voted in by the membership, so they were all voted in already. So I don't know how we voted before. Some of these were actually over the last 3 years, so.
I'm done.
Just as a clarification, so by voting yes, we're allowing mask to just keep advocating and working on these things? We're not saying yes to all of them. We're just saying keep working.
We're saying yes to keep working on the 6 things you guys have currently been working on that
Okay.
the Mass Association of School
okay.
Committees
I got
group has already said
I can
that
make a
they
motion that
approved.
we vote yes to have them continue their work.
Can I ask one more question? So if these were all at a prior year affirmatively voted,
Yes,
why did they need to be voted on again?
that's part of the bylaws.
They're old.
Hmm?
They're old.
Yeah,
They're old.
After a while, you have to do it.
It's right there.
yeah.
Approve them. It expires at the conclusion of the assembly in 3 years. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
It's just a condition of the bylaw that they have to be revoted. I have I need a second. Second by Mrs. Lebo.
Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
No.
No?
EMS with a nose, so. I'm
Okay.
gonna
Oh, all in favor? All in, no favor? No? Put him down as a no.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next, we have School Committee Policy, Section 917 for Student Personal Electronic Device Policy. I would like to move our policy into the Policy Subcommittee, hearing from teachers and parents, and what our policy has made things a little bit better, but it's really still not great. And so I'd like to put this back in, and we can look at some options to make it a little stronger and have more teeth, taking away the responsibility of teachers as being the cell phone police. So I'm going to ask to move that into policy.
May I ask also if that does go back into policy, could that also be a committee of the whole, so we could all have that conversation too? Thank you.
You all set? Next on the agenda is a consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Can I ask that that be taken, one thing be taken out?
Of what? Oh, yeah. You want to speak? Go ahead. What?
Sorry, I know we haven't done the consent agenda where we've asked for something to be pulled out before, so I don't know the exact mechanism to do that. But I just wanted to ask a question on the donations item. There was about, first of all, this is fantastic, and I'd like to just, even if I could, just read the donations. These numbers are staggering. You know, the Hale Family YMCA for $20,000, Granite Telecommunications, the QEA for $15,000, Bay State Financial, Quincy Mutual Group, Stop and Shop, as Superintendent Mulvey mentioned, Terrell Room, Premier Promotions, American College of Education, Quincy Lodge of Elks, and Manic Community Healthcare, in addition to the backpack and school supplies corporations that helped with that, organizations that helped with that. Is just fantastic, and I just really appreciate that. I want to give them a special shout out. But also, I wanted to ask about, there's a couple on here that total about $54,000 that it didn't seem like they were earmarked for anything, and I'm just wondering if someone knows what happens to that kind of general donation money, and what can that be used for?
So generally, when it goes into our partnership, it can be used from anything from supporting professional development for staff. A lot of the money is used for the full PD day for our teaching staff. It could be professional development also for our paraprofessional staff. It can be, for instance, buying statues, the statuettes for our professional teacher status reception and that sort of thing. But it's all geared towards, obviously, education and supporting our teachers and staff.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for letting me take it out.
So take
You
it-
can put it back together.
I was going to say, take it out or put it back
Well,
in?
You can put it back together. I just had a
Okay.
question on one of them.
So we're all set there. Roll call vote?
Okay.
please.
Mr. Begoli? Yes. Mrs. Cahill?
Yes.
Mr. Gutro? Mrs. Hubley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lebo?
Yes.
Mrs. Berdios?
Yes.
And Mayor Koch?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Additional business, there is none. Communications, we have all meetings in the Coddington Building School Committee Room, upcoming school committee meetings, 6:30 PM, November 19th and December 10th. And upcoming subcommittee meetings, November 17th would be policy, teaching and learning. November 24th will, December 1st and December 3rd are teaching and learning. December 8th, teaching and learning, special ed, and EDI, all starting at 6 PM. Reports of subcommittees, we have Mr. Gutro to report on the October 8th, 2025 Policy Subcommittee meeting.
I think that's the matter that we covered today, which we just recovered, thank you, which was the high school promotion and graduation requirements, which we covered. Desi essentially didn't suggest mandated revisions. We went through the revisions. Today, we made additional amendments, and we voted it in.
Very good. And there is no executive session, so motion to adjourn. Emily, second by Mrs. Hubley.
All in favor?
Roll call, no, we don't have to vote.
You just do an all.
No room.
What's that?
You're just doing all in favor, right?
To adjourn?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thanks,
All right,
everybody.
good night, everyone. Thank you.